This is Barbara Jagan, and Jean Morgan and I are interviewing Hannah LaSalle Harper today. It is the 23rd of February 2015, and we're doing the interview for the Louisville Historical Museum and our oral history program. So we're going to start with just some general questions about you, Hannah.
Okay.
And so first of all, I'd like you to give your full name and date of birth and where you were born.
Okay. My full name is Hannah Marie Harper. I was born in Boulder, Colorado, and my birth is January the 1st, 1932.
Let's talk a little bit about your family, your parents, and we'll start with your father. Okay. And tell us give his name, his nickname for sure, and a little bit about how he or his family first came to this country.
Okay. My father was William Buck LaSalle, and he came from a family of 9. His father was born in Italy. I'm not sure where my grandmother was born. I never got to meet her because she died very young. And I think my grandfather came from southern Italy, but I'm not really sure. My dad grew up in Louisville and worked as a miner for a while, and then he did get hurt in the mine. And from there, he decided he would go into business, and he bought a pool hall on Main Street, which is now the Empire. And alongside of that was a little barber shop that he rented to Fury Tassoni, who cut hair there for many, many years. And my dad ran the pool hall until his death, and he was in his late 40s when he passed away from something today that would not even have caused death. He had a strangulated hernia, but in those days it was fatal.
Wow. Let's go back a little bit to, you said there were 9 children?
9 children.
In his family.
In his family,
And they were all born here?
Here in the U.S.
All in Louisville, or?
Yes, all in Louisville.
How many brothers and sisters were there?
He had 7 brothers and 2 sisters.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And they were all born here. Do you know where the house was?
Yes, it was right on Front Street, which at the corner of, what would that be?
It's okay.
On the corner.
We might interview Maddie.
Maddie could tell you a lot. Oh, dear. I think I don't know what that street it is, right at Main, a block from the firehouse. It's where my Aunt Mary LaSalle and Frank, one of the brothers, lived.
Okay.
Later, but the family was right on the corner there.
On about Front and Pine, or Spruce, Walnut? One of those main streets.
It goes east and west. It's Caledonia. Is that what it is? Caledonia?
Could be. Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah. Yeah. So that comes into Front Street, I think.
Okay, that's where they live, right on that corner.
Yeah.
Right, the railroad tracks were just right there.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
So, how did your father? Well, let me ask the name of your mother, and then I want to know about her coming to this country.
Oh, okay. My mother was a Santilli, Mary Santilli. She went by Mariette most of the time. That was her Italian name.
Oh, really?
But when she came to this country, she was known as Mary. A lot of the old timers still called her Mariette.
And she was only 17.
She
is
was
that
17
right?
when she came over, and she came over with 2 brothers, my Uncle Jim and my Uncle Leonard. Jim lived in Canyon City, and my Uncle Leonard lived here in Louisville, where Teresa Cunningham now lives, on Jefferson Street. And that's the street that I grew up on. The story of meeting my dad was kind of funny, because she was at DeGelinardo's house, which is my grandparents lived on the corner. My Aunt Mary and Uncle Frank lived there, and then Tom DeGelinardo lived there. And my mother was visiting the DeGelinardos, And she was out in the front yard, she said, kicking up her heels and just having a ball, and my dad saw her, and that was how they met.
And she was very young. He was
young.
much older than him.
Yes.
Mhm.
He was about, I think, 13 years
Mhm.
older than she. And then she went to live with my Uncle Jim in Canyon City for a while. And then my dad came and to get her to elope.
To Canyon
Jim
City.
took the gun out and said, "You're not taking my sister." But they did anyway. And then they got married.
I see.
Yeah.
Did they make up afterwards?
Oh,
once
yeah.
you got to know your father?
Yes. Yeah. My Uncle Jim was a great guy. Yeah.
So how many children did Mary and Buck have? Is that
They
just you
have
and your
two
sister?
daughters, my sister Kay
Mhm.
and me, and I think there was a stillborn or a little boy between my sis and myself.
I see.
Yeah.
She was quite a bit older than
My sister
you.
was like 8.5 years older than I was.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And she died recently.
She died 2008. Yeah,
Mhm.
I think she was 84
Mhm.
at that time. Mm-hmm.
So your father, he worked in the mines,
He did.
and I understand too that he was quite a baseball player.
Oh, he was. He was. Oh, that's some pictures that I could give you.
That would be wonderful.
A picture of
Mhm.
the baseball team and a lot of Louisvilleites. And actually, he was a semi-pro baseball player and was involved in that terrific train accident up in South Dakota. I don't know if anyone else has told you about that.
No, I don't know about that.
A couple of Louisville people were killed. I've got the TV article, or newspaper article down there that tells who was. I'm trying to think of Ferrari's first, Bob Ferrari.
And it was part. They were part of the baseball team.
They were part of the baseball team, and there was a train accident. He did escape. I mean, he didn't get injured, but I can show you that article.
Was he was injured at one point in the mines?
He
well?
was. That was after the baseball career, though.
So that, he had to. It wasn't something that stopped the baseball. He'd already quit playing.
Yeah, yeah, and of course I was only 6 when he passed away. So the things that I can remember about him is he did walk with a cane. And I was the apple of his eye, my mother used to say. But he was a great dad.
Did he work for the road district or?
He did.
The county?
He did. And
this would have been shortly before he died.
Is it the WPA? Is that what was going on
Yes,
at
Work
one time?
Progress Administration.
Okay, I think he did. For
during
a
the
brief
Depression.
period of time. Mm-hmm.
My father worked for that.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then he died quite young.
He died in 1938.
And left your mother then,
And she
who
was
had
a
been a homemaker up until that time.
She stayed at home, yeah.
So then what happened?
Well, then she was faced with, 2 girls, and they had just built this nice home on Jefferson. And so I don't know how long it took her before she decided she was going to buy the grocery store. And she did. She bought a grocery store from, it was Martha Aberharter's building. She rented from Martha Aberharter. And she started a store. And worked her tail off. She really worked hard.
Had it been a grocery store before?
I don't remember if it was already set up and she bought it. I think there was already a grocery store there. And it just happened that this was just before the war, so she had to work her tail off. It was hard getting a butcher. Johnny Ross was for a while, and then there were no people around, so she did her own butchering.
The young men were in the service, I suppose.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So your mother actually learned to butcher?
She did, and she had a few accidents, I remember, rushing her to the doctor.
Whoa.
She really, But she did well, and she made a good living for us. And, of course, my dad's building was right across the street from the grocery store, and she kept it for a while and rented it out to a man named Eddie Jordan, who was quite a gambler from...
Could we go back just a little bit and talk about the pool hall when your father started it, right?
He did.
He bought the building?
He bought the building and started it. I can remember just vaguely going in there for ice cream and loving it on my way to school. All my friends would come with me, and we'd have ice cream cones.
What else did they? I mean, they had pool tables, I presume.
Pool, and I don't know about liquor. I don't think they had liquor then. I think it was just pool, and of course there was some other kind of gambling going on in the back rooms.
Card games.
Card games, right.
Was this called the LaSalle Pool Hall?
No, I don't even know what it was called, to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
And this was not. There was another pool hall on the street that.
Not that
what was
I
the one
remember.
that Bug Dust was?
Well, Bug Dust worked for my dad.
Oh, okay.
Is he still living?
I
think
don't know.
I see him at church, and I think, my goodness, yeah, he must have been really young when he worked at the pool hall.
I don't even know remember his real name.
I know his last name is Madonna. I don't know what the first.
John.
Okay.
Okay.
But he's alive.
I know. I see him at church, and I'm just amazed that's been quite a while ago.
So he actually worked for your father.
He worked at the pool hall. Now I don't know if he opened another one later on.
So we had Bug Dust and Buck, right?
They all had nicknames. My Uncle Tony was Bones.
Okay.
Yeah. Boney is what I called him.
Yeah. So your father didn't have too many years with the pool hall before he died.
No, he really didn't. And I can't put a date.
So then your mother was left with that building, and then that's
with
when.
that building.
And your uncle.
My Uncle Tony ran it for a while, and then she rented to, like I say, I forgot his name now, Eddie Jordan, who was from Denver and kind of involved in big time gambling. We didn't know that, but they did rent our house. He and his wife lived in our house. And my mother and my sis and I lived on top of the grocery store for a while.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. Then she sold that building to Anthony Colaci. Yeah, Anthony. And about that time was the time my sis started college. And then shortly after that, she gave up the grocery store. She sold it to a man named Green, and he ran it for a while.
Who were some of the other people that worked in the grocery store? She have a couple of friends.
Oh yes, she had
Amelia
Amelia Hancock, who lived right on Main Street. I remember her. Alfred Pirelli, I think, was our delivery boy when he could, and then when he couldn't, my sis delivered groceries.
Did he go into the service?
He was younger. He was like high school age, I don't know what happened.
Maybe he got another job or something or whatever.
And I can't remember anyone else. I think that was it.
So did your sister, did she walk?
No, we had a little old car, and she tooted around with her groceries.
Really?
And sometimes I'd go with her.
Do you remember what kind of car it was?
It was a little coupe, that I remember, with a big trunk. And that's where we put the groceries. Yeah.
So your mother, did she sell anything besides groceries?
No, just groceries.
Okay.
Had a wonderful candy counter, and I was very popular in that day.
Who took care of you? I mean, you were
I just
hung
hung around. Yeah. I was in school, and in the summer times, I remember going to camp. And we had a kitchen and a kind of a little bedroom on the back end of the grocery store that, I could stay. Then my mother hired Gwendolyn. She was Gwendolyn Paxton when she got married. I'm trying to think of her name. Ferrari, maybe? Gwendolyn? Anyway, she cooked for us and cleaned. And so she was there during the daytime. Yeah.
So did you have your own bedroom, or you and your sister had a bedroom, or when you were up above the grocery store?
At that time, my sis was already in college and in nurses training down in Denver.
Oh, okay.
So I had my own bedroom.
Yeah. Yeah. So what school did you go to? Elementary.
The one right at the park, the great big one with the slide. I can't remember the name. Louisville Elementary. Yeah.
What is now the Arts and Cultural
That's right.
Center?
Well, they tore the building down, but
yeah.
That used to be the library when I was going to elementary school. Yeah. Yeah.
And so then after elementary, then you did go to...
Went to Louisville well, it was Louisville High School at that time, but I did 7th, 8th, and 9th grade.
Okay.
There.
Uh-huh.
And then we moved to Boulder.
So why did you move to Boulder?
Well, my mother had sold a store, and she bought a student house for renting to students. And I don't know, she just decided that's where she wanted to be. She had a couple really good Italian friends in Boulder.
So you went to high school there?
I did, 10th, 11th, and 12th.
And then after that to?
Went to CU,
Okay.
University of Colorado.
What did you study there?
Elementary education, which was, I taught then for something like 30-some years.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so you taught elementary, obviously.
I did.
Excuse me.
My first
Elementary
job,
school.
fresh out of college, was Portland, Oregon, and that's where I met my husband. And then I came back here, and then he followed me, and he went on to college at CU, and I got a PhD, putting hubby through. Yeah.
When you first came back here, where did you live?
From Portland?
Yeah.
Well, I got a job in Denver, teaching in Denver, and so I lived down in Denver for a couple of years. And then when Dawn started CU, we moved in my mother had an apartment house at that time, and we rented an apartment from her and lived there. It was up on her
Your
road.
mother was quite the businesswoman, wasn't she? And yet when she came to this country, she didn't speak English.
And my dad spoke no Italian. So that was interesting. There must have been some fire going somewhere else. Yeah, she self-taught herself English, and she read incessantly. She was a real unusual woman. She really was. Yeah.
How long did she live?
She was 84. She died in the year I retired, 1987.
Did she stay in Boulder, or did she come back to Louisville?
She kept the apartment house and lived in the one little apartment for many years. And then she bought a house up on Grant Street and lived there. My husband helped her redo the house.
On Grant Street in Boulder.
And
Not
in
Grant
Boulder,
Street here.
right, right. And that's where she lived until she passed away. And then my sis lived in that house for a while and sold it.
And your sister was a psychiatric nurse?
She
is
was.
That right?
She was. She first, let's see now if I can remember, she wasn't psychiatric to begin with. Then she went to get her master's degree at the University of Washington in psychiatric nursing, and then came back and worked for the Veterans Administration in Denver and Salt Lake and Albuquerque. Ended up in Denver. Yeah.
You had a very smart family.
Well, she was a smart one. I was the one that had.
And she never married?
No, she didn't. She didn't. Never married. Career was most important when,
Sure.
she dated,
Yeah.
but she just never married.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she meant a lot to your family that stayed with?
Oh, she loved, my kids were her kids. Yeah, yeah, she was very good to them. Yeah, and they adored her. As well as my grandkids. They got to know her
And you and Don right, had two sons?
We had two sons, David and Doug.
And several grandchildren?
3 grandchildren. 2 boys. Doug has the 2 boys, Preston and Tyler. And David has a daughter named Alicia. Yeah.
And are they all around here? No?
Yes. They haven't been. Well, Doug has been because he owns Union Jack Liquor.
Okay.
And he and his family live in Spanish Hills. The 2 boys, Preston and Tyler, Preston graduated from CU, business degree, and Tyler is just finishing up this year in psychology. Alicia, is David's daughter, is a sophomore at CU in the School of Engineering. And
you're
David,
quite the buff family.
Oh, we are. I mean, both boys graduated from CU, my husband and I, my sis, and now my grandkids. Yeah, yeah.
When you walk down Main Street in Louisville, what do you think about the changes?
Oh,
and what do you remember about the different? You mentioned a couple of places that were on Main Street right by LaSalle's. There was another LaSalle furniture store?
It was
that
Tony LaSalle, and he did have a furniture store.
Uh-huh.
And I have no idea how we were connected because it wasn't immediate family.
I see.
Somewhere down the road we were connected, but I can't tell you how.
Mm-hmm.
That was where the Marketplace building is now. That was Tony LaSalle's.
All right.
And then, let's see, what else do I remember? Right next to that was Palillo's Shoe Shop. The corner that is now the bank used to be the Alphen's Motor Garage. And then there was McCorkle's grocery store. And something in between. And then my mother's grocery store.
So there were actually two grocery stores in
Right
that,
together.
right in
And then
that block.
Jacob's was just up the street.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's all where Chase or Chase's parking lot
Right.
was on that side of the street.
That's where my mother's grocery store was.
But the pool hall then was on the other side of the street,
Across
on
the
the
street
east
where the
side
Empire
of the
is
street.
now. Mm-hmm.
And then you mentioned Tissone's, was it barber shop?
Yes, Fiore Tassone on the grocery
And that's where Zuka's is now?
No,
No.
if you'll notice, the Empire is the big building, and then there's this little annex off to the side. It was very small, but it was a barber shop. Yeah. Let's see, what else do I remember? Oh, Dalby's was where, down on the corner, which is now has Vic's Coffee Shop and all that. That was a big department store. And then Celeste was a little ice cream shop that was to the north of Dalby's, and that was a fun place to go. Yeah, it's changed a lot.
Yes, Jane?
Were there certain stores that you went to and didn't go to others, like grocery stores, or did you go to all of them?
Well, my mother had the grocery store, so, up until she bought the grocery store, we probably went to Jayco's. And then the Hub, which was right on the corner. Do you remember that? We got my shoes there and other clothing. That was a clothing store. I can't think of any other stores that we didn't go to,
But you didn't shop in Boulder. You shopped mostly in
we shopped in
Louisville.
Louisville.
Uh-huh.
Yes. And the only thing I remember about that was going to Boulder was every Wednesday afternoon, all the grocery stores, in fact, Louisville shut down on Wednesday afternoons, and we went into Boulder and
I hadn't heard
did
that.
our thing, yeah.
I
Wednesday
never heard that.
afternoon was,
Just,
they closed the stores. And of course we were closed on Sunday. Those were the days, weren't they?
yeah.
Yeah.
So if you wanted something, then you
We
went to
could go
Boulder.
into Boulder on Wednesday afternoons.
Uh-huh. Now, did the Thomases buy one of those stores that was on?
The Thomases did, and I'm just thinking maybe it might have been McCorkle's.
Okay.
And then they moved down to which is now the Lucky Cow.
Right.
Uh-huh.
Was the post office for a while down there.
Right,
Mhm.
right.
And then I have another question to ask you. When you talked about your son owning the Union Jack,
Mm-hmm.
do you remember anything about that building in the old days?
Sure.
Would you talk about that a
It
bit?
used to be, I'm trying to think now, a spaghetti place. Jiggs Berardi owned it. And then my Uncle Tony and Dixie Elrod bought it and made it into kind of a country western bar. And I know when Doug
Wagon
was
Wheel?
looking for a place to start a liquor store, we went into it and it was still basically, it was desolate. I mean, people were gone, but it was set up just like the country western bar, kind of a rowdy place, I think.
Did
So
you
that
ever
was
go
in the
there?
family for quite some time.
My Uncle Tony, yeah.
So did you ever go to the Wagon Wheel?
No. Oh, I went to the Wagon Wheel when it was a spaghetti place.
Okay. What was the name of it when it was a spaghetti place? I don't remember that.
I don't know what it was.
So it was a restaurant then, and then it became the Wagon Wheel bar.
Yeah, Jiggs Berardi owned it.
Okay.
And then I think he went into Boulder to the Royal Arches or something else, started another spaghetti place.
He did. Yeah.
Okay.
Did
I
he?
remember the one in Boulder.
Do you?
Yeah. It was
Yeah.
just called Berardi's too.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Right.
And then it became the Wagon Wheel, and then Union Jack.
And then they just some guy from Lafayette owned the building, and that's who we bought the building from. My husband bought the building with a partnership with a guy named Jim Manning, and then Doug ran the business and has for many years.
Did you ever hear that that was a building from the Monarch Mine?
Yes, I did.
Do you remember? I don't remember what it was, the wash house or something?
I don't know. I thought it was the bunkhouse,
Could have been.
but I'm not sure.
And that's, did we locate that being on the southwest corner of what is now 42?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
42 in South Boulder Road.
In South Boulder
Right.
Road. Sorry,
Right.
yes.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What do you when you talk about your Uncle Tony? That was also the man that was nicknamed Boney,
Boney.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
He had two daughters, Mary Ann Petite, who still is living in Louisville,
Mm-hmm.
and then Barb, my cousin Barbara, who passed away a couple years ago.
So you have other relatives that you remember growing up with?
Oh, all
Around.
of the LaSalles, yeah. The ones that were around here. My Uncle Frank had three daughters, Rita Lou, Rosemarie, and Dot Ferguson. And I used to play with them a lot. And then my Uncle Joe lived in Denver and had one daughter, Eileen, who we used to go down and visit real often. I'm trying to think of any others. My dad had a couple brothers who never married. Jerry, who I remember was crippled, and I can't remember the circumstances of that. Maybe mine accident, I don't know. And my Uncle Packy, one of my dad's brothers, died very young. And I don't know what the circumstances were for that. Then he had two sisters. My Aunt Mary LaSalle, who was Mary Hassan, and had a son named Edwin Hester. And then, let's see, the other sister I didn't know, my Aunt Jenny, who died very young from breast cancer.
Did you have some big family gatherings through the years?
We did earlier, and then once my dad died, my mom kind of went to the Santilli side of the family.
Right.
But we did, as long as my dad was alive, we did Christmas together. And then once my dad died, it was the Santillis more that I remember doing things
And
with.
were there quite a few Santillis by then
There
here?
were 9 in my mother's family, but only 3 came over to this country.
I see.
Yeah.
Did
My Uncle Leonard was the only one who lived in Louisville.
and then Canyon City.
Canyon City was my Uncle Jim.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Did you or some of your family ever go back to Italy to
Yes.
go to visit?
Yes, we've been back there several times. Well, my mother and sis went when my mother's sister was still living. And then my son and I went over, Doug, when he was going to school. He was going to go to school in England for a summer semester. So we stopped in Pescara, which I had a cousin and I still have her living in Pescara, and visited them and went to my mother's birthplace, which was a great experience.
And that was in northern Italy?
It was in the middle. If you went to Rome, here's Rome and Pescara, it was right in the middle.
Oh, all right.
Between Rome, in a little town
must
called
have been
La Tarante.
Fascinating to go back there.
Yes, because her sister was still living then too, and showed us where my mother was born. And that was, in the only church in that little town that had been bombed during the war. And then I've gone back several times since then. Yeah, my husband and I went, and my sis and my husband and I went. Yeah, so I've been to Italy.
So why did your sister decide to come to this country when the others did not? I mean, she was young.
Oh, my mother, you mean?
I mean, your mother. Mm-hmm.
Well, my mother used to say that her mother made her go to an all-girls Catholic school. The nuns were really, really mean, and she felt like, my mom doesn't love me, so I'm going to go to the U.S. with my 2 brothers. So that's why she came.
Yeah. She was independent really all her life.
She was. Yeah, she really was an amazing woman.
Jean, do you have any other questions?
No.
I'd like to know a little bit about when you were going to elementary school.
Mm-hmm.
And were there, what kind of size of the classes? And was there a reason that you did not You did not go to the Catholic
I
school?
did not go to the Catholic school. My mother kind of cooled off when she came to this country. She was married a Catholic and raised us as Catholics, but for a long period of time she didn't go to church, and she didn't insist I go to Catholic school. I would have, because all my cousins went, but I enjoyed the public schools. And I remember the classes were not large, maybe 20-sums. And I started off with Miss Robinson in first grade. Some I can remember, some I can't. Miss Brooks in second. And then I had Miss Robinson again in third. Fourth, I can't remember. Oh, no, I had Miss Callahan in third. Miss Robinson in fourth. Miss West in fifth. And, my sixth grade teacher, I can't remember.
But they were all Miss.
They were all Miss. They sure were. Yeah. Yeah. I didn't have Mrs. Morgan. Was it Mrs. Morgan?
Lydia Morgan.
Was she a Miss or a Mrs.?
I think she was a Miss.
Was she? Yeah. But I remember having, when I was in Miss Robinson's class, she would send me over to Miss Morgan's class to get the ruler if someone had misbehaved.
I see.
I just hated that because I was the one that had to deliver the ruler.
You had to carry the ruler over, and you knew that one of your classmates were.
Right.
She had quite a reputation, didn't she?
Yes, she did. Yeah.
But I heard she was a good teacher.
Oh, she was. Miss Morgan?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
But
She
very
was an
strict.
excellent teacher. Yeah.
Very strict. Now, when you were hit with the ruler, was that the flat?
Oh,
or
I
the...
wasn't hit.
Oh,
I
no, not
just
you, of
used to go
course.
deliver. No, I had to sit in the corner one time and that put them all. I was the little goody girl.
I was going to say that's why you had to go carry the ruler.
Yeah.
Cause,
But once I was giggling
Uh-oh.
in, I think it was Miss Callahan's class. I was giggling. I had a little clay pipe, and Nancy Lee McHugh and I were, and we got the giggles, and she made me sit in the corner.
Mm-hmm.
That really crushed me.
Now, when they smacked your hands with the ruler, what is it, on the edge or the flat?
Right here.
On the palm, with the flat side of the ruler, not the edge.
No, the flat side.
How many times did you get a whack? Just once?
I don't know. I never got whacked.
Okay.
But no, I remember Leroy Warnberg was the one who got whacked the most.
Oh, he did.
He was ornery, but grew up to be a nice guy.
Now, do you know anything? Can you tell us any stories about what he did to be naughty?
I can't remember. I really can't. Probably nothing very much. In those days you didn't get away with anything. Yeah.
So where did you play? Were there playgrounds?
We played on the school grounds, and the big thing was rope skipping. That was our big thing at recess time. When I got a little older and was in junior high, our meeting place was on the steps of the Rex Theater. We'd meet there in the evenings and just sit and talk and watch the world go by.
That was a
Boys and
popular
girls.
place, wasn't it?
It was.
The Rex.
It was. Mm-hmm.
Did you go to movies there on the weekends?
Oh, yes. Yeah. My mother had to cut me down because I would go every time the movies changed.
I see.
Yeah.
How much were the tickets? You
I
remember?
think 5 cents to get in, for us anyway, at our age. I don't remember what the bills were.
Did you have an allowance, or how did you pay for these
I don't
things?
think I had an allowance. I don't remember getting an allowance. I don't. I babysat when I got a little older in junior high. I babysat the Alphans, who owned, their son. The Alphans owned the Ford garage on the corner there. And I used to babysit their son's little kids. And so I made a little extra money that way, but I don't remember. I must have had to ask my mother for the nickel. I don't know. Yeah.
Do you remember when you went to the elementary school right next to the St. Louis? Was there a lot of competition between those two classes and those two schools?
I don't recall any competition at all. Mm-mm.
I've heard people call it was the cats versus the pubs. Do you remember
we used to
anything?
call the Catholic kids, when I was one of them, the cat lickers. Yeah. But that's the only thing I remember.
Yeah.
What did they call you pubs?
I
Do you
have
remember?
no idea.
That's cute. The cat lickers.
Yeah, I don't know.
Where was your husband's family from?
My husband's family was from Oregon.
Mm-hmm.
And like I say, I met him when I went up to Oregon to teach.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Is that an English
I think he was
background?
English and Irish.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So when you went to Louisville, when you went to what we now call middle school, but it was junior high or whatever,
Right.
whatever then, did you participate in any sports or
Yeah, I played baseball.
after school activities?
Basketball, half-court basketball. I don't recall anything else after school activities.
Mm-hmm.
Pep club, maybe. I can't remember. Yeah.
And pep club, then you cheered the teams on?
Oh, yeah.
Especially when they played Lafayette?
Oh, my gosh, that was a real competition in those days. It really was. Yeah.
What other things do you remember about the neighborhood and when you were growing up?
Well, I grew up on Jefferson Street, right down the hill, and
do you remember the address or Jefferson?
I can't. Maybe the 12th.
Down the hill would be near.
It was very close to right next door to where the
South
Santys grew up, and then right across the street from the Santys, my uncle Leonard lived, and the DeSantises lived just across the street from me also, and up a bit. And we had wonderful times. It was lots of kids in that neighborhood. And we played kick the can and all those games. Yeah, it was a great place to grow up.
Did you have indoor facilities when?
Yes, we
you
did. We were the elite.
Wow.
We did not have an outhouse. The house my mom and dad built. Yeah.
Yeah. So they were able to. What that was before sewage really was. So they must have had a septic.
I don't know how they did it. I really don't. Yeah. But when we were at the grocery store, and my mother rented that house for a while to Eddie Jordan, we had outdoor facilities.
That was a shock then, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Weren't used to that.
Right.
In the wintertime, did you sled down Jefferson Hill?
Oh, we did. Yes, and roller skated in the summertime. That was wonderful.
Oh, you roller skated
We roller
down
skated
that
on
hill?
the sidewalks. We weren't out in the street.
I see.
That was great roller skating.
Was it dangerous?
No, I don't recall it being dangerous.
You must have gone
It
through
might
the
have been,
cliff.
and I didn't care. I don't know.
Did you just go straight down?
On both sides, yeah. We could go down either side.
North or south?
Yeah, and we did sled.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
But they shut all the streets off.
I think so. I can't remember. I really can't.
Did you just go straight and end at the bottom, or did you turn and make
No, we went straight.
straight down?
Straight down.
So how many blocks would that be?
Well, from the top, it'd only be 2 blocks. Coming down north. And it seems to me like that's what we generally did. I don't remember going down south.
I
The
see.
south side.
Did you have the wooden sleds?
Just
Oh, yeah.
one kid on a sled, or several?
No, just one, if I'm remembering right.
Did you ever get hurt doing that?
I didn't, but there was a terrible accident as a young kid who came, I remember who lived on the corner house there, but he came to visit, and he ran into the back end of a truck and was seriously hurt. Yeah, and I can't remember names involved in that, but it scared us.
But it didn't lead to closing.
Oh no.
Because I understand these days they're closing sledding areas because of
Well, they
the
should.
insurance.
Oh yeah.
The legal costs.
Oh, they don't want the cities doesn't want to have any
Yes,
problem.
which is a shame, really.
Yeah, it is. It is.
One time I heard that the kids would make a turn, I don't know on which street, and then go to Maine. Did you ever see kids doing that?
I can't remember that.
It'd be a little dangerous.
That would be. Yeah. Especially if it were blocked off and they did it anyway. Yeah.
Were the streets paved at that time?
No. I don't remember paved streets. In fact, I was trying to think the other day if maybe Main Street wasn't even gravel when I was growing up. And maybe it got paved in between.
It was sometime in the 50s, I think, when they
Did it get paved in the 50s?
started paving.
Okay. Well,
But I don't know which streets.
Yeah. Well, see, I left Louisville in 1946. Graduated from Boulder High in 49. So yeah, there were not many paved streets.
So that was during the war years. After
the war.
But you were in elementary school during the war years.
Yes, and I remember the grocery store. Every Sunday, our job was to lick the food stamps on big sheets.
I was going to ask about the stamps and whether you bought stamps at school. But they had those stamp books and.
Oh, about saving stamps.
Stamps.
In fact, I still have a little corsage of the saving stamps.
You do?
I can't put my finger on it right now. It's somewhere downstairs.
We're very interested in getting a picture of that. Gina's getting excited about that we talked to Gloria Green about, because she had made corsages, and we were just hoping to find one that.
Well, I'll have to bury it. I will.
Know.
I'll go down and go through my pictures, and hopefully I can find it.
Really, because we had never, that was all new.
Yeah.
As far as, so, what happened to them afterwards? Didn't they turn in the stamps to get war bonds?
Well, I think you saved so many stamps and you got a war bond. Or, I don't know if you didn't get enough, you just would cash them in, I guess. I don't know. But I was talking about food stamps.
Yes, let's hear about that.
And I remember my mother used to have a kind of a deal with, I can't remember the guy's name that owned the hub. She would give him extra food stamps if he would give us stamps for shoes.
Shoes, okay. So, but it was a lot of, there were certain foods like sugar.
Yeah.
That.
And I remember that was a Sunday afternoon
that you had to
job.
have stamps for.
We would lick them and put them on big sheets, and I guess turn them into the government. I don't know. Well, what happened to them after we did that.
I think that's something we forget about, all those times.
That was during the war. And then I do remember, it was either DDay, big parade down Main Street.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Cars honking and tooting and people happy. And, yeah.
That was in, was it July or August?
Was that 44?
I think it was in
44.
I think it was in 44.
So
was it sort of a spontaneous parade that?
I think so. It wasn't. I don't remember it being organized at all. Just a lot of people in cars. Yeah.
You would have been about maybe 9 or 10 years old then.
I was born. No, I would have been.
You've been a little older.
Or 12.
Yeah. You were. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So I was probably in what would be middle school.
Did you join in the parade?
Yeah, I remember standing on the steps of the grocery store and watching it go by.
Yeah.
And then I think we just walked along with everybody else.
Got right in there. Were there some veterans in that parade?
I don't remember if there were or not, but they did another film, and I'm sure you've seen it, on the veterans.
Yes. Yeah.
And my mother's in that one, because my mother remarried when I was in elementary school. I think I was 5th or 6th grade. She married a man from Boulder, and the marriage didn't last. But at one point he was in the service, and they got a picture of the two of them walking up to our house. Yeah. Yep.
What else do you remember about the war years and how
the war years
you in school participated?
I remember hearing. I think Louisville had a couple of fatalities. Fischel was his name, and I remember feeling really sad. And the gold stars or the whatever stars were in the windows. I remember that.
What did gold stars mean?
They had someone in service. And I think if someone passed away, and I only remember that one, I think they had a different color star in the window.
Your sister would have been a teenager during
She was.
that time.
She may have even been, because there were 8 years difference, she might have been in nursing school by that time. Down in Denver. I can't get in order. Yeah, she's either in college in Boulder or down at nurses training.
She was never in the cadet nurse corps.
She was a nurse cadet.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did she
She never
serve,
served anywhere,
or
no.
the war was over
I think she
before?
was still in nurses training because I remember she had a uniform, and yeah, I think they even paid for a little bit of her nursing.
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
I think they paid
Yeah.
for, if you were in the cadet, if you
I
were
think so.
accepted, it was paid.
Yeah.
My sister-in-law was.
Oh, really?
Yes. And
Yeah.
known a number of women that were in the.
Did your sister see
She did not have to because the war ended.
Oh, I think
And-
that's what happened with
Yeah.
my sis.
And she wouldn't have been able to afford that education if she'd had to pay
Yeah.
for
Well,
it.
I remember it being very helpful
Yeah.
to my mom. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would think that would.
Yeah. When my mom sold the pool hall to Anthony Colaci, that's what put us through college.
Is it really?
It did.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, to think that they had owned that place in the first place,
Yeah.
because your dad was a miner before that, right?
Right.
He was working in the mines.
Right.
He must have had a tough time, putting the money together to be able to buy the building.
Him?
Yeah,
I guess so.
yeah.
Yeah. I was too young to even realize at that point what was going on. Yeah. Yeah.
You remember the ice cream.
I remember the ice cream. That was the highlight.
Did you hear, I know you were pretty young, but maybe later, did you hear stories of the gambling?
Oh, yes. I did. Yeah, especially when Eddie Jordan owned the pool hall, because there was always talk about the Smaldones, the family from Denver, coming out here to gamble. I mean, it got to be kind of big-time gambling, I think. And I don't know if that's what convinced my mother to sell. Or
He was a Denver gambler or something.
Eddie Jordan was big time. I don't know if you remember the Woolhurst Club down in Denver.
Yes.
Okay, he owned that. And there was talk of gambling going on there. And then he branched off into Louisville.
And at some point he ended up in prison.
Did he?
I believe so, yeah.
I don't
Over
know,
his
'cause
gambling.
They left
Yeah.
Louisville.
Yeah.
His wife was delightful. I felt sorry for her.
Yeah. So they actually lived in
They lived
your
in
house.
our
then?
house.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I heard that people wouldn't park on Main Street with those big Cadillacs and everything, so they wouldn't be located at the
Well, that could be.
pool halls. Did you ever hear anything like that?
I don't know. Well, Doug even talks about at the liquor store, the basement is really unusual, and he said there's a little tunnel that goes under Highway 42. I don't know where it came out. Probably on
From-
Harney's.
Really?
Yeah,
Ah.
it's a real scary basement at that liquor store. But anyway, he thought, and this is just, I don't know how truthful this is, but that there was gambling going on when it was the Wagon Wheel.
Oh, I never heard that.
And that was the escape route. I don't know if that's true or not. Maybe someone else will know that.
Do you believe in the tunnels down on Main Street?
I don't know about those. I've not heard about
Oh,
those.
it's very controversial, but some people
Yeah.
say no, there are no tunnels for escaping gamblers.
And others
all
say
this
they
stuff.
went through the tunnels.
Yeah, so.
Oh, okay. I've not heard that.
You didn't know all these things.
I
You were
didn't. I was
too
so
young.
young and innocent. Yeah. Right.
And maybe it seemed bad. Maybe it wasn't as bad as we don't know. But
Yeah,
all
well,
really.
in those days there was a whole different
Oh,
atmosphere
absolutely.
about that.
Yeah, yeah.
And bootlegging went on in
A
Louisville.
lot of
You
it
know
had,
that?
yes, during the Depression.
Yeah, that's right.
Mhm.
Do you know any bootlegging stories?
No, but I had heard that maybe my dad was a bootlegger.
Oh.
I don't know if that was true or not.
Well, it could have been.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
a lot of people were involved.
Well, it's
in it.
interesting because my husband, who is from Oregon, said his dad was a bootlegger in Oregon. So
Yeah.
who
Yeah.
knows? I mean, it's a
Yeah.
whole different world there.
It was. It was.
Yeah.
Now, does that mean that they actually make the liquor and sell it, or they just move it?
I think they just moved it, don't you?
Most of them, but they're
Or some that
but
made
they're
it.
also a lot of them also made it secretly.
Yeah. Well, when I grew up in Boulder, Boulder was dry.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Till 67.
Yeah.
Yes.
Did you ever call our town Liquorville? Because all the Boulder people would come over here to drink.
No, I didn't.
I heard that.
No, I didn't hear that at all. No. I was kind of proud to be from Louisville. You know, it was hard to go to Boulder High. It was it turned out it was fine for me. I made a lot of really nice friends. But I hated to leave Louisville. It was crushing. Yeah.
But you have been back now for how many years?
Well, we moved in here in the early 1990s, so it's been, we were the first people who, we bought the house new.
And did you play golf? So you wanted to be near the golf course?
Well, my husband was the golfer. But yes, I did play for a while and then gave that up.
But you still like living close to the golf course?
I love it. I love that view.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you like or dislike about Louisville now?
I can't think of anything that I dislike.
Years.
It's kind of hard to see the big changes, but I don't dislike them. I love this neighborhood that I live in. They are so supportive. And the old-time Louisville people that I still know, I love getting together with them. Yeah.
And so you live here alone? You've been a widow for not too long?
My husband died 2 years ago. Yeah. Yeah. And this little community really came to my, they didn't let me grieve too long. They kept me busy.
And you're very busy.
I try to be. Yeah, I do. I do keep busy. Yeah.
Besides your immediate family, you still have quite a few relatives or sure-tail relatives.
I really don't.
Here.
Out of my dad's family, Marianne Petite and I were just talking the other day. We are the only two left of the kids. And then on my mother's side, gosh, I only have a cousin in Italy. That's it.
When was it that your family was honored at the Italian Heritage Days?
Maybe about 5 or 6 years ago.
Yep. And that it was the LaSalles that.
The LaSalles.
Yeah.
It was very nice. It was nice, and I'm glad that Dot, kind of.
Yeah.
She was the one that kept all the records of the LaSalles, and she came to our aid. And then my cousin Eileen, who would be my Uncle Joe's daughter, was living in Arizona. She came up, and she got to see that before she passed away. Yeah, so it was very nice.
Was that at the park?
It was in the La Festa.
In the summer. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was exciting.
It was. It was
do you
a real nice
have
tribute.
a plaque or something or?
No,
anything?
I didn't get a plaque or anything. No, they didn't. Anything like that. But the little gazebo across the street is in honor of my husband. We've got a little plaque up there for Don Harper.
Oh.
Yeah, it was very nice. It was touching. My kids came and hung it up. He was president of the association, and he did a great job. He really did. He was there for everybody, and he helped everybody. And so that was
of the homeowners
So
association.
they just decided they named that little gazebo the Harper Gazebo.
That's
which is
great.
Nice. It was a nice treat.
You're not connected to the Harper Lake in any way.
No.
That's
in fact, I was reading about that not too long ago. I think it was in the historical paper.
Yes. There's the story there.
I always thought that June Harper, who I went to high school with in Boulder, was connected. But I guess it's not even her.
Well, it's not an uncommon name, so
true,
it could be a lot of Harpers. Yeah. Are there any? I sense we're coming to the end of our interview, and I was just wondering if there are any thoughts that you have that you with your memories and any thoughts you have to, since you were a teacher, to give to young people in Louisville.
No, I just think I got a good education beginning in Louisville. I really did. and continued in Boulder High and CU. Loved teaching.
And obviously, for all the years you taught.
I loved it.
Was it always third grade?
No, I started in first, and then second, and then third was my Nick. I loved it. And yeah, I quit when I still loved it.
Do you see some of your students?
Once in a while in Boulder, I will bump into something, and then the other day in the Boulder camera, one of my students was appointed on an Obama, what was she going to be?
Some kind of ambassador or something?
Something, and I thought, oh my God, Maria, I had this little gal in third grade. Yeah, once in a while that'll happen.
Must give you a good feeling.
Right.
So. Jean, do you have any other questions?
I do, and these are kind of scattered. They're not really related to each other. I was questioning about Kolaches, which is now the Empire. Did that change much when you sold it, or is that sort of what the original building used to look like?
That's sort of the outside is the original building. Yeah, and the inside, well, it would have had to change.
Right.
You know, they put booths in and stuff, but it was still a great big pool hall-ish look. Yeah.
Do you remember when the Kolache sign went up and the beacon on the top? Do you remember that?
I really don't. I do know that Mom sold it to Anthony when at the time that Joe and Anthony were having their conflicts.
Right. Yeah, because that's why he moved and opened it. I wonder also, when you were a kid living down in Louisville, what kind of clothes would you normally wear? Would you always wear dresses? Or did you ever, always dresses, even when you played?
I can't remember. Maybe jeans, I don't know, but, you know, I really can't remember.
But you never went to school
skirts.
in...
oh, no, in
the
clothes. Should I let him out?
Patty wants out. I think we'll be closed off.
Even when I was teaching, we didn't wear slacks until, what was it? Maybe the 90s. I don't know. It was a long time before we could go, and then it had to be pantsuits.
Right, pantsuits.
And now they can go in anything.
Right. Yes. Yeah. I think pantsuits about the mid-70s.
Okay, that was
started 70s were kind of
that was a big breakthrough.
The change. Yeah.
Do you ever remember going down into Denver for events and things?
Oh yeah. We used to go to Denver. It was an all-day trip.
How did you get there?
Car. Along 287 and Federal, and then you'd get into Denver. And I remember reading in the Louisville Times, I don't know if you've seen an old one or not, where it would say, Hannah and Mary went to Denver to shop today. I mean, that was news. It was crazy. And they're fun. I wish I could see some of the old ones.
You went to the Denver Dry? Dry Goods?
Oh, yes, we did shopping there.
May Company and
Newsteaders?
D&F.
And May D&F.
Yeah.
Tower.
Newsteaders is pretty fancy.
Oh, it was.
It was,
and they had a Newsteaders in Boulder.
That's right, they did for a while.
Where the clothing store is, or the... Right where the Safeway store is on... What is that?
Arapahoe and...
Arapahoe.
Yeah,
it's
36.
Is it...
I don't know.
The one that sells dry goods, you know. I can't think of it.
I can't think of it either.
No.
Yeah, I don't remember where it was, but I do remember there was a... Yeah. And Jocelyn's had opened.
I love Jocelyn's.
Yeah.
I hated to see that go.
That was my big shopping place for a long time.
Do you remember the trolley cars down in Denver? Weren't there electrical lines on some of those cars until the early 50s or something?
There were trolleys. You're right.
Yeah, I kind of remember them too.
I remember those.
And sometimes those hookups would come off the electrical line, and
the
conductor would have to go out and hook them back on.
Right. Yeah, I remember.
I wonder if, too, you talk a little bit about when you had family gatherings, what kind of food would you eat? And would the family all get together? Would the kids be off to one side? Or how did that work?
Table, sure. You know, and my family was mostly we'd have spaghetti, and then there was always, salad, spaghetti, and then a meat of some kind, and then dessert. Yeah.
Did you have any relatives that worked at the Blue Parrot or Kolaches?
Oh yeah, my Uncle Leonard's wife, my Aunt Pauline, cooked at, I think it was Kolaches, Anthony's. Yeah, she did spaghetti. But that's the only relative that I can remember worked. Yeah.
There's a lot. We find a lot of
Yes.
people have worked or
Yes.
relatives
Yeah.
that worked at one of those. Yeah.
Now, did you make your own spaghetti, or
My
did you buy
mother
it?
did.
She
My mother
made it?
did. Uh-huh.
Do you remember, was there a tool or a...
She had the old-fashioned crank, that you change the I guess those are rods, and you could make the thickness or the thin spaghetti, and you just would put your dough in, roll it out, make it thin, and then crank it in. And then somebody gave her later, much later, because we were living in Boulder, an automatic spaghetti maker. What a deal. You just put everything in the top, turn it on, and out comes the spaghetti. I still got it out there.
Really? Kind of like a bread maker.
Yeah.
I was just at the Blue Parrot the other day and eating that big spaghetti. It was like eating worms. It was
I
so
know.
good.
I went to the heat relief dinner the other night.
Yeah.
We were there too.
Oh, were
yeah,
you?
Yes,
Good spaghetti,
yes.
huh?
That they had more people there this time.
They
It
did,
was really,
yeah.
yeah.
It's kind of hard to get used to that thick spaghetti, though, isn't it? I haven't had
loved
it for
it.
a while.
I do
like
like it too.
I
Yes,
do.
yes,
I do.
I really do.
And I love
I'm
her
glad they're
sauce.
still doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what kind of dessert would you have? Did you eat a lot of pizzelles and whatever?
We made pizzelles. That was the thing at Easter and at Christmas. You made pizzelles.
What kind of pizzelles?
Anise. Is that
Just
what you
anise?
meant? Yeah, with either the anise seed. I still make them.
You make them with the own seed?
I do. I
Good.
do. Uh-huh.
You grow your own seed?
No.
Jenny Negri does.
Does she really?
Yep. I get some for you.
Okay. She grows it?
Yes, she does.
Be darned. Jenny Negri?
Yes.
John and Mike Negri.
They grew up in my neighborhood.
Uh-huh.
They
Yes.
did.
We went down and interviewed them in
Did
Arvada.
you? Yeah.
Yeah.
His mother and my mother were great friends.
Yeah.
Josephine
Uh-huh.
was the mother's name.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, they lived on, I think it was Lafarge, just right across the alley. Yeah.
So,
I
what
like
is
biscotti.
biscotti?
I
Okay.
do
You still
biscotti.
make biscotti?
Pardon me?
Do you still make biscotti?
I do make biscotti.
You
My
do?
grandkids love it.
Okay.
And then my Aunt Pauline used to make these half-moon things that they put like a date filling in. I don't know what they were called, but they were good.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't think of any other dessert that we had. I'm sure there were, but I can't remember what they were.
Do you remember any of the other holidays? Oh, wait, one question I did have. When you all got together as a family for dinner on Sundays or whatever, did the kids eat separately or did you?
There was always a kids' table.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And what did you do on holidays? Any particular holiday, 4th of July or the Labor Day parade?
4th of July, Louisville used to have a big to-do. We'd have the parade, and then the thing I remember is the games that the kids could play, and then they'd win prizes, and you'd go up to the American Legion and collect your prize.
They have fireworks.
Fireworks. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Where were the fireworks held?
Boy, I can't remember.
Maybe over the Miners Field? Over in the baseball field?
You know, I don't remember at all.
Uh-huh.
I don't even really remember if there were fireworks, but I think there was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then was Labor Day a big deal?
Labor Day was a big deal. That's right.
A
Yeah.
parade?
A parade. And then Memorial Day, I think, I can't remember. It was more like something at the cemetery going on.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
We still do that.
Yeah.
And then Christmas. What'd you do at Christmas?
Well, Christmas, when my dad was alive, was a big thing. And I remember he used to dress up as Santa and peek at the window. Yeah, and I believed it, of course.
Oh, you did?
Oh, yeah, for a long time. And then once my dad died, Christmas, I think we did with the Santilli side of the family. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember any gifts that you got at Christmas time?
Oh, a doll that I still have, the poor little thing downstairs, all in parts. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And I remember my first Christmas that I must have been in junior high, and I wanted a lipstick so badly. And my sis wrapped up a little package of, it must be like lip balm now, because there was no color to it, but
it was special.
That was the best gift I ever got. I was growing up.
Anything else, Jane, before
I do. We've got a few
then
more minutes. If you don't mind.
We need to let Maddie out. So.
Well, let me just ask you 2 more locations. Anything about Miners Field, the ballpark?
My dad played ball there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's been there for quite a while.
And it wasn't grass, it was just weeds?
I can't remember.
Uh-huh.
I really can't.
And do you know anything about the neighborhoods, Little Italy or Frenchtown or any of those?
Little Italy, I had friends that lived up in Little Italy, and Frenchtown, I remember having friends down there.
Uh-huh. But it wasn't really all Italians or all French.
I think Little Italy was pretty much all Italian.
Was
and
it?
in later years, more people moved in.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about Frenchtown.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of interesting, huh? Isn't it, the way that they...
Yeah. Any other neighborhoods that you knew about?
No?
Everybody knows those 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for answering my extra questions.
Oh, you're welcome.
Go ahead, Barbara.
Thank you. I think we'll close off.
Well, thank you.
Do you want to introduce your
Had
doggy?
a great.
What?
Introduce your pup.
This is Maddie. A little stinker, but we love her.
Thank you so much,
Oh,
Hannah.
you're
This was
welcome.
great.